Hello everybody, and welcome to another webinar from Exadel, and this in our partnership with Microsoft. We're going to be talking about developing Windows 8 apps in Tiggzi today, and I'll be your I'm a marketing manager at Exadel, and I'll be doing the emceeing duties today. And I'm here with Max Katz, who's the I'm not even sure what your title is, Developer Relations at Exadel. He's the man, he's the go-to person for everything you want to know about Tiggzi on the Exadel side. What we have today, too, in addition to our regular cast of characters, is a surprise speaker from Microsoft. His name is Kevin Ashley. He's a book author, and his current role now is at Microsoft as a technical evangelist. And he's a creator of one of the top 100 Windows 8 apps, and there you can see a link to look at it. And there's a slide of his book, Professional Windows 8 Programming. We're really happy to have him here to help out in the office hours / Q&A part of this webinar. Now, first of all, a few housekeeping details. Everything here will be recorded, and we will make the recording available both through the normal GoToWebinar facilities, and also we'll put it up on YouTube. And in your follow-up email, there should be links to both of those things. What we do here is we usually don't have questions throughout. You can ask, if you look in the lower right corner, there's a place where you can actually put questions in as we go along, or you could wait till the end. This time, instead of waiting till the very end to do all our questions, we're going to stop in the middle, because sometimes people get kind of tired, and we'll find a natural stopping point, which I believe will be after Mr. Ashley does his part of the presentation. And then we'll do, at the end, there'll be a final Q&A. And if we don't have time to get to your questions, we're going to try and stay on as long as possible. But, you know, Max's email address will be up at the end, and we will try to look through the questions and see if we missed any. And so what I'd like to do is here give you a more drill-down view of the agenda. You can see that Kevin will be giving an update on Windows 8. And then what Max will do is he'll just give a very brief description of the overall architecture of Tiggzi, and that'll be the slide that we have up. And then he'll launch immediately into a demo of developing a Windows 8 app, which is what most people are interested in anyway. And then I'll do a quick little description of our ongoing Tiggzi Windows 8 contest, where you can win exciting prizes. And then we end up at the end with our office hours. We call them office hours because the idea is that it's not just for questions that you might have about Max's demo or things that arose, but through that, but anything that you know, it's obviously it shouldn't be about the fiscal cliff, but anything about Windows 8 or Tiggzi any question you might have, here you have two really good authorities in different ways for this subject, and here's your chance to ask them. And also, we have a promo code for a 2-month subscription to the pro version of Tiggzi. And normally that would be $50 a month, so it's a $100 value. And of course, we're going to wait till the end to show that to you, because that's the way things work. So now without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Kevin so he can give you a Windows 8 update. And then after he's done, if there are any questions you want to ask at that point that are more about the general state of Windows 8, feel free to type them into the window on your screen in the lower right corner, and we'll try and get to them. So, Kevin?
Yes, Charlie, thank you, and thank you, Max, and the Tiggzi team for this opportunity to address your audience. I'd like to give you a brief update on the state of Windows 8, as Charlie mentioned. So basically, what is Windows 8 today? I think first and foremost, it's a great opportunity for you guys, for the developers, for the companies building apps, and you know, it may be easy for me to speak about this because I really have the apps that succeeded in the marketplace. I currently have a couple of apps. One of them has about 350,000 downloads, and it's just the first month of Windows 8 in existence. So the official stats right now that Windows 7 ecosystem has sold approximately 700 million licenses, and according to Steve Ballmer, we're planning to sell this fiscal year. We're planning to sell 450 million new devices with Windows 8, and so basically, if you look at the size of this ecosystem, it's huge, it's enormous, it dwarfs any other platform in the world. And of course, it's a great opportunity for you guys to start building apps for Windows. And Tiggzi platform allows you to do that. I think it's a great opportunity also to to jumpstart your development for Windows. Now, if you want to start building apps for Windows, I would recommend you, of course, checking out the platform itself, downloading the copy of Windows, the development tools, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in the Q&A section at the end about any development questions, as well as any perhaps questions that you may have as companies, as developers or startups. I'll be happy to answer those. So Charlie, I'll move it on to you. I think then I'll be happy to answer the rest of the questions in the Q&A section.
Okay. Well, let's see if maybe people are just getting warmed up. I don't really see any questions at this point. So let's just move along. And then if you have questions that occur to you later, then you should just type them in, and then we'll get to them. Kevin will be around for the whole webinar, and so along with Max, so you can ask a question then. So now I'm going to hand it over to Max, who will do the Tiggzi part.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Kevin, and welcome everyone to our webinar. So I'm going to give you a really quick overview with Tiggzi is, and then I'm actually going to jump into building an application, and then we'll go into the office hours. So Tiggzi is a cloud-based app platform, and it has a number of main components. So first of all, there is the app builder, and that's the top icon that you see in the top left there. But basically, you can look at it as IDE running in the browser. I mean, think like Clips or Visual Studio, running in the browser. Now, the kind of apps or the technologies that we use, we pretty much use sort of standard and open source technologies. We use HTML5, JavaScript, CSS. We also jQuery mobile for components, and of course Windows 8 components as well. Moving to that middle column is you probably heard there is an API explosion happening, and everyone is offering APIs from obvious players like Twitter, Facebook to U.S. government, and everyone sort of in the middle. So you can consume any REST API out there. Anything that's available, you can consume, and it can be sort of a public API, meaning no authentication required. But of course, most APIs do require authentication, using OAuth 2 mostly. So of course, you can use that as well. Moving to the top icon in the second column, backend services. So all these APIs they're great, they're powerful, but you also want to be able to save app data somewhere. And so what we provide backend services, and under the backend services umbrella, we got a database, a cloud database, where you can store app data. As an example, if you're building a to-do app type, where you save things to do, you can quickly save them into a database. We also introduced push capability, and also we'll be doing server-side code very soon. And of course, at the end, you get a mobile app, and you can see there's HTML5. Again, you can do Windows 8. And of course, you can also do iOS and Android. So having said that, I'm going to actually go and build an app for you. All right. So you guys should see this is sort of the main apps page in Tiggzi. And as I mentioned, so this is cloud-based, which means there is nothing to install, nothing to download, which makes it super easy to actually start building the apps. All right, so let's create a new app first. January 17th. Now, to create the Windows 8 app, you do need to create more options here. All right, and we have to select Windows 8 app and then click Create. So it's going to take you just a few seconds to load the builder. So, and here we go. So this is the start page. It's got some links to tutorials, videos, docs, and our support email. So you can definitely use that. And on this side, on the left-hand side, we got our project. All right. And so you can see this is a Windows sort of 8 page or view. And to start, I'm just going to make this change the zoom here so just a little bit, so it's like this, so we can see the entire page. So the app that I'm going to build is going to be a search app where we're going to connect to Twitter search API, and we're going to search Twitter for anything we enter. And then once they do that, we can actually make this to be a native Windows 8 app by adding some of the native features right from Tiggzi, and then we'll launch the app on Windows 8. So to start, I'm going to, so you can see there's a default grid, but I'm going to add another extra row here. So I'm going to head to rows in properties and add an extra row. And auto means that it's just going to change its height automatically. Next, I'm going to take an input component and drop it into this first row, second cell. And now I want to position it more on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click in the sort of parent container, and I'm going to head to properties, and I'm going to change the column align to start. And you can see in a second that it moves to the left. Now, in the second row, I'm going to put a button. And first, I'm going to rename it to search. And of course, do the same thing. I'm going to select the parent container and then head to properties and change it to start. All right, so it looks like this. So of course, again, right now I'm basically building an HTML5 Windows 8 app. But it was also pretty nice is that I could test this in the browser. So if you look in the upper right corner, there is a test button. I can click test. And this is how it looks. All right, so obviously it doesn't do anything yet. It will. This is running in Firefox, and but you'll be able to run this in IE 10 as well. All right, so again, this gives you good sort of ways to test the app and see how it looks. So let's go back to the builder. Let's add some components for displaying the tweets. So first, I'm going to get a list component. All right, and I'm going to modify a little bit. We're going to change the height to 160 here. Okay, and next I'm going to put a grid component inside. So the list component is going to help us with the looping because we're going to display multiple tweets, and then the grid component is going to help us with actually doing the layout. And you can see it's right here. And you can also use the breadcrumbs up here to actually to select the components. To make it easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra row here. And then for the columns, I'm going to change them to one fraction each. So it's going to look like this. Now in the first column, I'm going to put an image component, and this is going to be the Twitter picture. Now I know ahead of time the size that Twitter sends me back, and it's only actually 48 by 48. So selecting the component, I'm going to go to properties and change the dimensions to 48 by 48. I'm also going to, again, select the parent container, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to first move it to the left, and then I'm going to spin the column. Okay, so it looks like this. So this is for the Twitter username picture. Now in the other two columns, I am going to place two labels. We get the first label. So this is the Twitter username, and I'm going to basically do the same. I'm going to move it to the left, and I'm going to span it two columns. And finally, we're going to delete the default text here. All right, and then the second label, this is the actual tweet text. And same thing, moving it to the left, spanning two columns, and then deleting the default label. So this is it for the UI portion, right? And of course, you can create multiple pages and so on. But of course, the next step for us is to define a REST service to connect to Twitter. And so for that, I'm going to add to project, and I'm going to click Create New and then Service. And we got a REST service. The name is fine. So we got a REST service editor. And of course, one of the most important things is to enter the URL, which looks like this. All right. So again, I'm using Twitter because everyone knows what Twitter is and how it works. But again, any REST service out there you can use. For data type, we're going to change to JSONP, and then we're going to move to request. So every service it will have input parameters or request parameters. In Twitter's case, Q stands for query. That's the only one that's required. It has optional parameters. We're not going to worry about that. Okay, and then clicking Add adds the parameter. What we can do now is we can actually test the service. So we can click the test and enter any value. And using Twitter, you can actually really do anything you want. But let's enter HTML5. Click test. And this is the JSON that we get back from Twitter. Okay? You can see, the service works. If you get an error message, it's also useful to indicate that maybe the URL is incorrect or the request parameter is incorrect. But test is also very useful because from here, we can automatically create the response. You can see this is all we get from Twitter, and there's a lot of data. So we don't want to type it by hand. So we can automatically create service response. Okay? And we can switch to response tab, and we can see that this is everything we get back from Twitter. So now, you could do this by hand, of course, but obviously this would take longer. Okay? So we got output, we got input, and we got the settings, so we're good. Let's save, and let's go to the page. So we defined the service, right? But we also now need to add the service to the page. And to do that, we're going to switch to data view. So this is the design view that's currently open, and then data view is right here. Okay, so this is where you add services to the page. Let's select service type, and then we only have one service, and I'm going to click Add. And we can change the name here to, for example. All right. So this step, we added the service to the page. Next, we need to bind the service or map the service to the page. And for that, we're going to click Edit Mapping, and this is what we get. So we get the page on the right-hand side, and we got the request for the service on the left-hand side. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the input component and map it to the service. All right? Just looks like this. Very easy. That's it for input. Now we're going to go to response, and this is all we get back from Twitter. So results, this is the collection of all the tweets. And what we want to do is we want to map this to the list view. Now, why to the list view? Because it will automatically give us a looping feature, because we're going to get multiple tweets. But of course, the same applies if you get a list of records of any sort. From user, this is the Twitter username. We're going to map it to this label. Now, text, this is the tweet text. We're going to map it to the second label. And the last thing we need to do is to map the image picture, profile image URL, to the image component. And so this is what we get. All right. And of course, you can write some JavaScript. You can save data into local storage. So that's all available. All right, so we're done here. Let's go back to design. So the last thing before testing this app is we need to invoke the service on button click. So we can select the button and then open the Events tab. So you can see once I select the button and open the Events tab, the button is selected automatically. But of course, you can also just change the component by using the drop-down. The event is also set to click automatically by default, but and again, you can use other events as well. And then the action we want is invoke service, and then we only have one service, which is search Twitter. And so this is what we're going to do. All right? Save, let's test. All right, so same view that we saw before, but now we got the service connected, so let's click search. And instantly we get the result for all the tweets with HTML5. All right. So you can see again, it's very easy and very fast to start building Windows 8 apps. Now, so what I've built so far is basically an HTML5 app, and of course using Windows 8 components. What I would like to do next, of course, is add some native features, and of course deploy this app on Windows 8 machine, because right now it's running in the browser. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a search extension. It's going to make a lot, you're going to be clear when I run the app. But basically, Windows 8 has a native search feature where instead of entering values right here, we can invoke the native search feature and then basically still run this app. So let's do that. So adding a search extension is very straightforward. Create new extension. And we're going to go with the search extension. All right, and just a few settings here. We're going to select the page. We only have one page. We're going to select the data source, which is the service. And then we're going to select the input component for the query text and the actual search control. All right, we're going to click Save. Next, what I want to add is I want to add a share extension where you could select a tweet and then share it, for example, via email or any other programs that support the share capability. So let's do that. We're going to go home here and select. So I select the home, that's the page, and the event. So this is a Windows 8 event, data requested, and then I'm going to do a share contract. All right. And there's some code that I need to write, but again, I don't want to bore you with typing the code, so I'm just going to copy and paste the code quickly here. Let me see. Here we go. This is what I need. Yes, here we go. Hold on, let me just check this one more time. I think this is the one for live update. Actually, I need this one.
Good catch.
I know. This is the one that I need. Give me 1 second to check here. Okay, then this one. So you can make this bigger so it's easier for you to type, or you can make this to be full page like this. All right. Now, the only thing we need to change is that there's a get element by ID. We need to change it because the list that we have is actually called list view 1_3. So we're going to click show all the events for this page. Oh, I forgot to, I see what happened. I forgot to save the event and it wasn't saved. Let me go back for a second. So we go home, data requested, share, here we go. And get this. And let's change this list view 1_3. Here we go. This button, add event. And so now the event is added here. All right? And last thing we need to do is get the live tile update. So let's go to data, and then we're going to select update live tile. So there are different tiles you can select from, but the one I want to use is this one. And then opening this, and just, here we go. Tiles, and then we minimize, and then we can also change the period, how often it refreshes. So we go to 5, for example, so it's a little bit faster, and then we add the event. All right? So we pretty much got everything. Now, of course, once we do that, we're not able to run the app in the browser anymore, right? Because we're using some native features, and so we have to run this on Windows 8. And so for that, we can obviously still test this. We got an export feature, so we can export as Visual Studio project, and that's what we're going to do. Let's just save this again, and then Visual Studio project. Let's save the file. And let's go to the folder. Let's unzip it here. All right. Which is right here. All right. And then right-clicking this project file and then open with. I've got Visual Studio Express. All right. Here we go. Let me just check one more thing. The list view _13. List view _ excellent. So let's go back here. All right. So we got the project imported. Now we can just launch it on the machine here locally. Okay, and you guys see the same type view, HTML5. And as you can see, again, it looks very similar, of course, but then again, we're now running this as a native app, okay? So this is, of course, just what I built originally, but let's try some of these native extensions, which I added at the end. So first, search. This is the search extension. And again, notice that search, I have the app selected here. So this is sort of the Windows 8 native search. So if I enter Windows 8, all right, you can see that, instead of entering in the app input field, you can see that all the tweets were updated based on this, what I entered right here, all right? Let's go back. We can also select a tweet. and then click here, and you can see we can share this tweet using these programs. So we can do, we can use mail, flip those, you can use people, or put it on into Twitter as well. So whichever app supports the share, you'll be able to share this tweet, all right? And the final thing that we did was the lifestyle update. So let's go ahead and look at that. So this is the app, and you can see this is the app right here, and it changes. So look at it. I had the mouse over. Here we go. Okay, we can. So it's this one. Let me uninstall this one so it doesn't confuse. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so this is the lifestyle. All right. So some other native features that we support, for example, is Snap View, and we're working on other native features as well. So of course, the idea is that to make it possible to build basically a complete app inside Tiggzi with whatever native features you would want, and then basically just run the app. Now, today I had to go into Visual Studio and had to compile the app, but we're also going to be adding a build where you'll be able to build the app in the cloud, and then you won't have to go through the Visual Studio step. But again, today it is required. Let me go. So you can see now they're updating a little bit faster. So let me go back. Let me go back. So one more thing I want to show you before we go into Q&A is because it is required for the contest, which Charlie will mention in just a few minutes, is the using backend services. And that I mentioned this earlier, is that there's a button right here, backend services, and if I click on it, it's going to look like this. All right, so these are my databases, and I can open one of them. All right, this is how it looks. I got a dashboard, and these are my collections. Okay, and what's really nice. So behind the scenes, we got MongoDB running, but then we put this UI on top of it, and we put a really elegant REST API on top of it. And of course, everything you do is instantly exposed as REST API. And in fact, this is one of the collections I can look at the curl command. And so that will help me create a service very similar to what I did with Twitter. And then we got a user management, and then you can upload files as well. But I mentioned, so Tiggzi is a platform, which means there's the app builder, and then we got backend services. And being a platform, obviously the app builder should be aware which databases you have created. And exactly that happens. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go back to the builder and create new database services. All right, so what happens is that I get a list of all the databases that I've created, and if I select, for example, Java 1DB, I instantly get all the collections that I have. So these are the default ones for user management, so they're going to be the same for each collection. And right here, these are my, for each database, I'm sorry, and these are for my collections. So for example, I can look at company, and then I can select, I would like to generate services for every operation that I can do in this collection. But let's say I just want to display a list of values. Okay, so I can select list and click import selected services, and then instantly I get the services created for me. Okay, and if I open the service, and it looks very similar to Twitter, just different URL, but I've got the URL already preset for me. I got the request parameters all set for me, and of course I got the response also set for me. And if I want, I can actually test this. Just click test, and there are four values. These are mobile companies. Got T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. I get this instantly. So you can see, instead of creating the services with Twitter, basically it takes just a few seconds and you get the service. And then from here, what you would do is you would go back to the page, you would go to data, and you would add a service, and then basically you can just map it the same way I did with Twitter. So it's incredibly simple and easy to work with. So having said that, let me go back. Oh, yes, end up in the first slide again. Here we go. So we're here. So hopefully this makes sort of more sense now. So you saw the app builder, right? Again, the ID running in the browser. The technologies that we use, again, I showed you the Windows 8 portion. The backend services, right? That's what I just showed you. REST APIs, we use Twitter. So that's the third-party REST APIs. And of course, at the end, you get an app. And again, we built basically a real Windows 8 app, which we're able to deploy on Windows 8 machine and also use the native features. And having said that, I'm going to give it back to Charlie. He's going to give you more information on the contest that we are running.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Max. That was exciting. So what we have running right now is, as part of our launch of our Windows 8 support, we set up this contest so that we would get people to write Windows 8 apps that use Tiggzi, and it's good that you talked about back-end services, because along with the requirement that it has to be using Tiggzi, we also have a requirement that you should use Tiggzi back-end services, because part of this is to show how easy it is to use back-end services straight out of our platform. Of course, you could still use back-end services from any other REST API. And a critical thing, too, is that there are prizes along with the different subscription offers that we have for people. There's also, we have, 6 different machines to give out. We have 2 different contests. You can see January 31st and February 28th. January 31st, if you get in by then, you're still considered for February 28th if you don't get a prize. So it's a good idea to join then. And we have 2 Microsoft Surfaces and 4 Dell XPS convertibles to offer to people. And the critical thing is, I'm going to have to be quick because we want to get to some Q&A, but the URL at the bottom of the screen is basically that's where you can go to find out and to actually submit your application. And so here's just a repetition of some of this stuff. Although a key thing here is we're finally unveiling the promo code for the Tiggzi webinar, January 17th. There it is. And we have various tutorials at our help site. One thing is, Max, can you link to the videos that we have on YouTube from the doc site, or?
Yeah, there is a link, but it's just basically youtube.com/Tiggzi.
Okay. All right. And just to repeat there, and now I'd just like to remind people that we have both Kevin and Max available now for office hours. They can answer questions about Max's demo or general questions about Tiggzi or about Windows 8 itself. We're very excited about both things. So let's move on here. All right. Okay, so I'm going to leave this slide up while we do the questions. So let's move right along. Here's a question. Can I access the Microsoft Cloud Windows 8 mobile phone stuff through Tiggzi? So I guess that might be a question for Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
Yeah.
Does that question make any sense?
Perfect.
Hello?
Yes. Well, mostly the question relates to Tiggzi. I can answer it from the push notification services perspective, of course. So when you for Windows Phone, I guess that was the question, right? When you build the app for Windows Phone, yeah, go ahead. When you build the app for Windows Phone, you have an option to have a push notification enabled on the phone, as well as for Windows. They use slightly different backends. In one case, it's used the app would be using the Windows notification services. In the other case, it would be using a Windows Phone notification services. They have very similar architecture, but they're slightly different services. So I guess, Max, the question to you then would be, does Tiggzi currently allow using Microsoft push notification channels through Tiggzi?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. Did you say if you can use Windows 8 push notification? That was the...
Yes.
Yeah, about the channel.
Charlie, can you just read?
Yeah, can I access the Microsoft Cloud Windows 8 mobile phone stuff through Tiggzi?
So if that stuff is exposed via REST API, then yes. So as I said, anything that's exposed via REST APIs, you can access. And so.
Okay, and here's a question that I think bears asking again, even though it was asked earlier and then you answered. It's from Max. He wants to be reassured that in terms of DD access for an app that everything will be in place, like registration and login, there is a user aspect to the Tiggzi database, right? But do you think that in terms of this, guys, how would you respond to the part about logging in and registration? Is that something you would have to build?
Yeah, so the built-in user collection provides that support, so you can use that. But you can also create your own if you need to. You can create your own collections, you can create your own user collection, and anything you need with it.
Okay. And you mentioned the tutorials that are just available on YouTube. So if you search YouTube Tiggzi, you'll find all of our video tutorials. Here's another question. Is there a way to convert and this is from Max, is there a way to convert an existing app built in Tiggzi to a Windows 8 Tiggzi app?
No, because there's no way to convert, I guess the question is a jQuery mobile app to a Windows 8 app because they just use different technologies. We use Windows 8 components, and jQuery, it's a jQuery.
Oh, okay. So it's like different worlds, sort of.
Yeah, it's just different UI. I mean, for example, the REST services in the backend is the same. Yeah, it can be obviously reused, but the actual UI is different. And another thing is to keep in mind is that to add any native Windows 8, again, you need to go with the Windows 8 UI than jQuery. Having said that, it is different for Windows Phone, right? So, Windows Phone, you can build a jQuery mobile app, and then, for example, use PhoneGap to get a hybrid app for Windows Phone.
And that's what we were supporting Windows Phone 7 before.
Yeah, we still support it, and we're going to be getting for Windows Phone 8. But again, there is a difference between Windows Phone and Windows 8.
Right. It's a different universe, but they can be combined in a way. Okay, and then are there any limitations on the sizes of the apps? I think that's part of so if you have a professional plan for any of the different plans.
Yeah, there are some storage limits, but they're pretty large. I mean, your app will never get that large, so I wouldn't worry about the app size.
Oh, okay, and then the metering of the back-end access is all done through the plan.
Yeah, so same. With the plans, there are different plans, and they also give you sort of different number of calls, for example. And it's all on our website. If you go to Tiggzi.com, click on pricing, it will give you an idea the plans what we have, and we do have a free plan, so which gives you a significant number of resources to use.
All right, and then here's some people are asking some housekeeping questions. So I'll ask that quickly. The webinar is being recorded, so it will be made available and sent out to people. And also, It's the slides, we can make those available too, but there aren't very much to them, but we can make them available. And now on to the next question. Here's someone who asked a very difficult question, but it's kind of it's someone who's not a coder, and this person is interested in knowing how much, using Tiggzi, how much can they accomplish if they don't come from a traditional coding background?
Yeah, it's a good question that we also get a lot. So obviously, Tiggzi makes it very easy to build, especially the UI, as you saw. It makes it very easy to build services. Having said that, the more sort of experience you have with technologies such as HTML, JavaScript, REST services, the easier it will be to build apps. So we definitely recommend having some background, in web development or some sort of background in these technologies. Otherwise, it's just going to be simply, challenging to build a real app without any prior.
But do you think that are there any cases, or do you think hypothetically it would make sense for someone to try and at least use it as a prototyping tool if you don't have?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can definitely, but I think sort of taking it to the next step and sort of customizing does require knowing how the underlying technologies work.
Oh, okay, and then here's something about further. Let's say you're doing an app. This is about Windows Phone, which isn't Windows 8, but maybe it could be either. But it's about how you can use. Let's say you're developing an app with Windows Phone. Or we have Windows Phone 7 support. How can you use phone capabilities such as SMS, contact sensors? Is that just all done through PhoneGap, or?
Yeah. So for Windows Phone, yes. So all the native access is done via PhoneGap. Although for SMS, you couldn't invoke the native SMS app.
Mm-hmm.
But another option is to use an API. And we got plugins that enable you to add a SMS plugin very quickly. And so there's some providers that do that. There's AT&T, Twilio, that allow you to send SMS via a REST service. So that's also an option.
All right. Oh, and here's a question that I think would be for Kevin. I think it's based on what we were talking about before. It's about Microsoft Windows, any kind of Microsoft Windows 8 services that are available through REST to be consumed as part of apps like Tiggzi. Kevin, do you have any? Is there a? Is that a question that can be answered briefly, or is that just too big of a question?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for the quality again, but I'll try to answer the question. So the latest offering from Microsoft includes Azure Mobile Services. Azure Mobile Services is a fantastic REST-based API, which allows you to quickly create cloud-based solutions using pretty much Windows Phone, on Windows Phone, on Windows 8, on iOS, on Android, pretty much any platform that you'd be interested in. As a matter of fact, I actually have the app that is going into the Nokia collection that is built entirely on Azure Mobile Services. So it's a great way to to start building apps for Windows and use the backend services that we provide.
All right, thanks. Here's another question. We have this plugin facility that you didn't really go into too much, Max. So, what is it? Oh, this person has a question about a specific plugin, Max, and about MS, having a plugin that somehow makes it easier to use MS SQL. Has that come up, or is that in the plans at all for developing plugins, or?
MS SQL.
This is someone who's asking about whether there's a plugin for using MS SQL in the cloud.
It's interesting. There is no plugin, although it would be good to get more information, about this question. We do have it's a separate project that we're just launching called REST for Enterprise. And the basic idea is that it takes an existing relational database, right, and puts a layer that exposes its data via REST APIs.
Oh yeah, and that's actually something that we just unveiled in beta. So I don't want to get off the track, but it's maybe I'll put a note about it in the follow-up email. It's called REST for Enterprise. It's available now, and it does exactly what Max said. So here's a question about here's a question about the roadmap for adding more back-end services for Tiggzi, because you were showing the database, Max.
Yeah, so we've got the database, we've got the push, and we're going to be adding two other big things to that: server-side code and security features.
Oh, okay. Let's see. And here's someone asking about, I'm not sure about the question, it's something about Azure. I think it was part of a question about plugins. Is that another thing that would simply be done through?
What is that question?
Well, the person was asking about the Microsoft SQL question. He also then said through Azure. Is that just yet another thing that?
Oh, again, you would
need
to check. Yeah, I mean, Azure might have it exposed via REST API. So then it's not an issue. But again, it's something that we need to be checked.
Oh, okay. So now I think. Oh, okay. So. We have let's see, so we have the promo code out, and I think I'll have to contact this person separately, but we tested it and it seems to work, so we'll just get in touch with this person. And I don't really see any more questions right now, so if that's it, I'll just wait a couple of seconds to see if people have any more questions, and then we can just wrap this up. So going once, going twice. Okay. Here's something to keep in mind is that a lot of times questions occur to people after the fact. So if you, there's Max's email address up there. And as I like to tell people all the time, Max loves getting emails from people about Tiggzi. And if it's something that's more on the Windows 8 side, he can always forward it on to Kevin or consult with Kevin about this. So we're very excited about this, this whole kind of combination of the new Windows 8 and Tiggzi. And we're also very excited about our contest. You can see that at the bottom. And just a reminder, we are recording this webinar, and we will plan on more. And we hope you return for more of these. And that's about it. We appreciate people taking time out from their days to listen to us talk about Tiggzi and things we're really passionate about like this. And with that, I'm just going to, there's one last question. See, that got people to send. Okay, quick two questions. Are there links to plugins from other users? Like, do other users create plugins, and then how is that shared? Really quickly.
Well, a lot of users create plugins, but most of them are just private for the users. All the public plugins are on our website.
So if someone wanted to share it, they would just submit it to us.
Yes.
We're giving this to the community. Okay. And what about adding other UI layouts in Windows 8? You have those two basic layouts, right? And then is there a way to customize that through themes or anything like that right now?
Yes, there is a theme option. And for the layout, there are ways to configure the page that I had, the initial page. So yeah, you can do themes, but that's more look and feel. And then yes, you can change the layout as well.
Okay, now I'm really going to stop everything now. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to talking